Simulation is active. Initializing the LifeSim protocol.
Level 1. The envelope. It starts with a manila envelope left on your car windshield in a parking garage on the 4th floor of a building you don't remember entering. Inside, a burner phone, a 6-digit code, a time. No name, no instructions, no return address. You tell yourself it's a mistake. You sit in your car for 11 minutes. Then you dial. The voice on the other end has no accent, no affect. It says your name, your full name, middle included, and asks you one question. Are you available Thursday? You say yes. That's the whole interview. Thursday arrives. You're escorted by a man in a gray suit to an office building in a business district that looks too ordinary to be real. The lobby has no company name. The receptionist doesn't make eye contact. You ride the elevator to a floor that isn't on the panel. Someone presses the button for you. The room you enter is climate-controlled to exactly 68 degrees. You will learn later that this is deliberate. People talk more precisely when they're slightly cold. The orientation is 3 hours. No PowerPoint, no handouts. A single man across a table tells you what you need to know. The organization has no name you'll ever speak aloud. It has no website, no registered address, no public record of incorporation. It has clients, governments, corporations, individuals who pay 7 figures for outcomes. Not reports, not assessments, outcomes. You are entry level. Your job is to watch and to listen and to say nothing. You sign a document, 42 pages. You don't read all of it. Nobody does. But you understand what it means. You don't ask about the people who signed before you and stopped coming in. You already know that question has an answer you don't want.
Level 2. The observer. You spend the first 4 months doing nothing that looks like intelligence work. You sit in hotel lobbies with a newspaper and a coffee, and you count how many times a man in a blue tie checks his phone. You note the timestamps. You submit the report through a dead-drop email address that changes every 72 hours. You are never told why. That's the first rule you learn. Information flows upward, and meaning flows downward, and you only ever receive what you need for the next 12 hours. Your stipend is $4,200 per month, direct deposit to an account at a bank you've never physically visited. The money appears cleanly. No tax forms. You don't ask about that either. 6 weeks in, you're assigned a target. Mid-level executive in a logistics firm with contracts in 3 countries. You don't know why he matters. Your job is to document his patterns, where he eats, when he sleeps, who he calls from the phone he thinks is private. You do it. You're good at it. You find that observation comes naturally to you, that you've always watched people more than you've talked to them. After 3 weeks, the assignment ends. You submit your final report. 2 days later, the executive resigns from his firm under unspecified circumstances. You feel something about that, something specific and small. You file it away. You don't examine it too closely. That's a skill you'll develop fast here. Level 3. The approach. They give you a target who isn't a target. She's a contact, a potential asset. Mid-40s, dual citizenship, access to financial clearing data at a level most auditors never see. Your job is to develop the relationship over 6 to 8 weeks, build trust, identify leverage, present an opening. They call it an approach. It sounds clean when they say it. You meet her at a conference you've been credentialed to attend under a cover identity that has 2 years of email history and a functioning LinkedIn profile. You have business cards. You have rehearsed biography. You have a reason to be in every room she's in. She's sharp. She pushes back on things. She has opinions. You notice yourself actually listening to her. At week 4, you report that she has a brother in a legal dispute that could cost him everything, a dispute that your organization could quietly resolve or quietly accelerate depending on what she chooses to do. You don't present the leverage yourself. Someone above you makes that call, but you provided the information. You found the thread. She becomes an asset. You don't see her again after week 7. You run the numbers. You've now contributed to 2 outcomes you don't fully understand, for clients whose identities you've never been told. You've worn a different name for 41 days. You've lied to someone who trusted you without reservation. You're very good at this job. That's the part that sits with you at 2 a.m., not the ethics of it, but the ease of it. Level 4, the operator. You're cleared for operational fieldwork at 18 months in. The difference isn't ceremony, no promotion, no title change, no handshake. You receive a different phone, encrypted, self-wiping after 92 hours of inactivity. That's how you know. Now the assignments have teeth. A corporate competitor needs to lose a bid on a government infrastructure contract, not lose it fairly, lose it permanently. You spend 3 weeks embedded in the firm's city, cultivating a source inside their procurement office. You photograph documents you're not supposed to touch. You pass copies to a courier at a cafe on a Tuesday at 8:47 a.m. and walk in the opposite direction without looking back. The bid collapses 6 weeks later due to irregularities in the submission process. The client pays $1.2 million for that outcome. You receive a wire transfer of $18,000 to a secondary account. Clean, no explanation necessary. You're also learning the internal economy now. The organization runs on 3 currencies: money, information, and liability. You've been accumulating small amounts of all 3. What you know about certain clients, about certain operations, about the location of certain servers, that's a balance sheet. It protects you. It also makes you dangerous. Which means someone above you is watching your balance sheet grow.
You start to understand that loyalty here isn't a value, it's a transaction, and every transaction has a ceiling. You stop trusting anyone who smiles at you. That's not cynicism, that's operational hygiene. Level 5, the handler. 2 years in, they give you 3 assets to manage. Your job is no longer to be in the field. Your job is to be the voice in the ear of people who are. You run them remotely, secure channels, infrequent contact. You know enough about each of them to ruin them if they deviate. They know nothing about you except a code name and the fact that you can make their problems disappear or multiply. One of them is 23 years old, a junior analyst at a think tank with Defense Department adjacency. He got into this the same way you did. Something landed in front of him, and he said yes before he understood the question. You see yourself in him. You keep your distance. Affection for assets is a liability. You learned that by watching someone above you make that mistake and watching the asset disappear 6 weeks later under circumstances that were never discussed again. Your compensation is now $34,000 per month. You live in 2 cities. You have 3 identities with full documentation, driver's license, passport, utility history. One of them has a credit score of 781. You have not used your legal name in a professional context in 4 months. At night, you read books, serious ones. You find yourself drawn to histories of empires, how they collapse not from outside force, but from internal weight of their own architecture. You tell yourself it's just reading. You're lying to yourself. You're trying to understand where you are in the structure. Level 6, the principal. You don't apply for this level. You're assigned to it. The difference is that now you are in the room where clients sit, not to serve them, to assess them. Your job is to evaluate whether a potential client's request is achievable, whether it's within acceptable parameters, and whether the risk of engagement justifies the fee. You have veto power, not symbolic, actual. You have sent clients away. You have done it calmly, with no visible emotion, and watched their discomfort fill the room like smoke. Power at this level is quiet, almost invisible. You direct 12 operatives across 4 regions. You know their code names, their physical descriptions, their psychological profiles. You have read reports on their stress indicators, their sleep patterns, their financial behavior. You know which of them can be pushed further and which of them are approaching the edge of operational utility. You have recommended the retirement of 2 operatives in the past year. Retirement in this context means reassignment to a domestic administrative function. You tell yourself that's what it means. You have no evidence to the contrary. You choose not to look. There is a woman 3 levels above you. You've seen her once in a secure facility in a country whose name you'll never write in any document. She looked at you for approximately 4 seconds. You understood in those 4 seconds more about how power feels than you learned in the previous 3 years. She said nothing to you directly. She didn't need to.
Level 7, the architect. You've been doing this for 7 years. The first thing you notice at this level is the silence. Not literal silence. The silence of accountability. Nothing you do traces back to a decision point. There is no record of you attending any meeting, authorizing any operation, or communicating with any client. You are a principal in an organization that doesn't exist, executing decisions that never happened, for outcomes that no one will ever officially acknowledge. You have structured 7 operations across 4 continents in the past 18 months. 3 of them altered the political architecture of regions in ways that will take historians decades to untangle. None of them bear your fingerprints. A government fell. That's not a metaphor. You sit with that fact sometimes. You let it occupy the room. You don't celebrate it, and you don't grieve it. You simply know it. Your monthly operational budget is $4.3 million. You have signing authority over accounts in 11 jurisdictions. You have never had a job title. You have never received a performance review. You have 2 phones, one for the organization, one for the life you've maintained on the outside. A residence, a social presence, 3 people who know a version of you that is genuine and incomplete.
You see them less frequently now. The gap between the person they know and the person you actually are has become too wide to comfortably manage. You love them with a precision that borders on clinical, because clinical is the only mode left that doesn't cost you focus. You don't feel numb. That's what surprises people about this level. If anyone were ever told, you feel everything. You've just learned to feel it at a distance, like watching a city at night from an aircraft, understanding what it is without being subject to it.
Level 8, the silence. There is no ceremony at the top, no title, no confirmation. You simply begin to notice that no one above you corrects you anymore. That's it. That's the whole signal. You are now one of 4 individuals globally who hold the knowledge necessary to reconstruct what this institution is. The clients you interface with are not corporations or governments in the conventional sense. They are the architecture of influence that sits behind the architecture that most people believe is real. You have been in this room for 11 years. And here is what power at this level actually is. It is the complete elimination of surprise. The world continues to produce its shocks, elections, crises, collapses. And you feel none of them as shocks, because you knew. Sometimes you were part of the mechanism that produced the event. There is no one to tell. That's the loneliness of perfect information. You sit in rooms and listen to people talk about the world, and you hear the gap between what they believe and what is true. You can perform conversation,
but you have not been present in a long time. There is a file with your real name in a secure archive, a mutual deterrent held by parties who hold identical files on each other. You are, simultaneously, the most protected and the most exposed person you've ever known. You would make the same choice. That's the most honest thing you know about yourself. Somewhere across the city, a young analyst receives an unmarked message. She thinks she understands what she's being offered. She doesn't. But in 11 years, she will. And she'll sit in a room exactly like this one, perfectly still, watching the lights below, knowing everything, feeling nothing she can explain to anyone. The envelope never stops arriving.